Good morning everyone. Today our topic is about materials development. So now I will explain you why this subject is so important. So most students want to be teacher in the future, and choosing the right material makes their lesson very effectively. Now I will explain you what is material and its effectiveness. Now today's plan, it consists of 3 parts. The first one, definition of materials development. In this part I will explain you what is material and how to develop the materials. The second one, the reasons that materials evaluation is needed for. The third one, the purposes of material evaluation. So let's get started. What is material? Most people associate term with course book that has been their main experience using material. However, it's not only course book. It can be DVDs, videos, emails, YouTube, dictionaries, grammar books, workbooks, or photocopied packages, photographs, or live talks by native speakers, or discussions between learners could be also materials. And even you choose the songs, very interesting songs. It helps learners to learn the subject or dictionary or vocabulary very easily. It means you choose the right material. So in other words, it could be anything which is deliberately used to increase the learner's knowledge or to experience of the knowledge. So materials developers might write textbooks, tell stories, bring advertisement into the classroom, or express an opinion, provide some samples of language use, or read a poem aloud. And I love poem very much, and it is very good material also. So whatever they do provide input, they do so ideally in principled phase related to what they know about and how languages can be effectively learned. So the materials has very important role during the classes, and because if some teachers are very knowledgeable but they don't know how to choose right material, and sometimes they select very boring or difficult materials. Even if they are so knowledgeable, they cannot teach their students because of the materials. If the materials are very interesting, your lesson will be very effectively it helps your students to write the interest to the subject, and it makes your lesson very effectively. So impact is achieved when materials have a noticeable effect on learners. That is when the learner's curiosity, interest, and attention are attracted. So drawing the students' attention is very important. If they don't pay the attention to your classes, if they just think about another things during the lesson, they never listen to your lesson. It means they never understand you because of their attention. That's why, first of all, teachers should draw their attention. And next one is, if this is achieved, there is a better chance that some of languages in the materials will be taken in for processing. So materials can achieve impact through, the first one is novelty, unusual topics. Sometimes teachers select the same topics, very boring, not interesting topics, and by this way they cannot draw their attention, and students don't interesting the similar things. If your topic is unusual, it may just raise their interest. And besides, illustrations are very important, especially for young kids, for young learners from 1st grade to 6th or even 9th grade. Illustrations should be in your material, and the activities, it is also significant. Imagine if you explain some topic to your student, and if you don't give any activities, they cannot understand your lesson very well. They cannot comprehend your lesson. That's why you should bring with you many kind of activities related to the topic. So next Y is variety. Breaking, for example, breaking up the monotony of a unit routine with an unexpected activity. So as I mentioned above, using many different text types taken from many different types of sources, using a number of different instructor voices on a CD. So let's continue. Next one is attractive presentation. So presentation, for example, you can use attractive colors or lots of white space, or use of photographs. If your presentation is consists of only words, you cannot draw your students' attention. That's why it's very significant. So next one is appealing content. Content is very important in choosing the right materials. For example, topics of interest to the target learners. Topics which offer the possibility of learning something new, engaging stories, universal themes, local references. If your student, if you choose unusual stories, somehow students like stories rather than very boring topics, and they also love local references also. So materials should help learners to develop confidence. As you know, confidence, self-esteem is very important, not only for teachers or for students, but for everybody. So that's why most materials developers recognize the need to help learners to develop confidence, but many of them attempt to do so through a process of simplification. They try to help the learners to feel successful by asking them to use simple language to accomplish easy tasks, such as completing substitution tables, writing simple sentences, and filling in the blanks in dialogues. As I mentioned above, if you give students complicated texts or complicated tasks, they face some difficulties while they are doing these tasks, and they cannot just want to do these tasks, and they are not interested in these topics, because they think that these topics is too difficult, too complicated to learn. That's why if you want that your students have confidence, you should give them to accomplish very easy tasks. So let's again, I will give you the definition of our material evaluation. So material evaluation refers to the systematic procedures of appraisal carried out by the teachers or students to measure the value of the materials in relation with the quality of learning the language. So, materials evaluation. Why materials evaluation is so important, so significant? It looks into the potential of materials for the future use in the language learning, the possibility of materials to work in a specific context. It helps teachers to determine whether the materials in question will work in the future. Designated context still works in the current context or succeeded in the past use. So besides this, looks into the materials, strengths and weaknesses, how it can succeed or who can possibly make it successful, how practical it is used in such. Findings help teachers to decide if materials are worth adopting, suitable to maintain or need to be replaced. So I want to add some information to material evaluation. Too many literature written for evaluation with diverse criteria to be considered and various approaches to address the need. So author include Tucker 1975, this is internal external value to the most recent birth, 2001, who gives priority the fit between textbook and the curriculum, student and teachers. So material evaluation is needed for some obvious reason. Too many materials available in the market all claim to be the best in the field, and the only way to verify the claim is to evaluate them. So teachers should know how to evaluate the materials, of course. An educated, informed choice need to be made for the benefit of all parties. Teachers must make informed decision in choosing materials to ensure that it serves the purpose of enhancing the learning experience. Learners are more sophisticated, knowledgeable. The materials given to them must meet their expectation, suit their level. If their level is low, I will give you some example. If they are an elementary level, and if you give them the material from intermediate level, as I mentioned above, it makes some difficulties and it doesn't meet their expectation. It's not suit their level, and students never just learn this subject. That's why every teacher should be very careful. Ensure only, the next one is ensure only high standard of material books are used. Only choose materials of high quality so that it helps achieving high standard of teaching learning. Nowadays students are very knowledgeable and they are very knowledgeable, and if they can know very easily if the materials are chosen from all textbooks, and they are not interested in all things. That's why while choosing the right material, we should choose the modern one. So the purposes of material evaluation, it has some purposes, of course. The first one is to adopt new textbook. Before decision can be made of which book to be used, a number of potential books need to be evaluated. Next one is to identify strengths, weaknesses in books already in use. Before decision to replace it being made, evaluation need to be conducted, of course. So besides, materials should help learners to feel at ease. I think that most learners feel more comfortable with written materials, with lots of white space, than they do with materials in which lots of different activities are crammed together on the same page, and are more at ease with text and illustration. that they are related to their own culture than they are with those which appear them to be culturally aligned. For example, I'm a teacher and I live and teach in Uzbekistan, and I never take the videos of American videos, and I never show it, demonstrate it to our students, because we have different culture. That's why while choosing the material, we should just take into consideration the cultural difference, of course. So, and students are more relaxed with materials which are obviously trying to help them to learn than they are with materials which are always testing them. Feeling at ease can also be achieved through a voice which is relaxed, supportive, through content or activities which encourage the personal participation of the learners, through materials which relate to the world of the book. So I will explain you. If the teacher are in a bad mood and there is your voice is some kind of unusual, students can feel them and they never feel comfortable. That's why they feel comfortable with kindly voice. If teachers are a friend to their students, students feel more comfortable, and they can learn very easily, and the lesson can be very effective. That's why we should just take into consideration these things, as I mentioned above, the voice, and we should encourage the student, and we should be supportive to our students. Okay, so materials should help learners to develop their confidence. So not only for students, but for not only for students or teachers, but self-confidence and self-esteem is very important for everybody. So relaxed and self-confident learners learn faster, and elementary level learners can often gain greater confidence from making up story, writing short poem, or making grammatical discovery than they can from getting right a simple drill. So sometimes, not sometimes, but most times, students don't want to go to school because they are bored from lessons. That's why if teacher give them some tasks like make up story, it is very interesting for them. While they are doing these activities, they feel fun, and they can just understand the topic, and it of course it helps to earn the confidence for them. So materials should take into account that learners differ in learning styles. Different learners have different preferred learning styles. So for example, those learners with a preference for studial learning are much more likely to gain from explicit grammar teaching than those who prefer experiential learning, and those who prefer experiential learning are more likely to gain from reading a story with predominant grammatical features. So every teachers know the learning of styles of learning which need to be catered for in language learning materials include visual, auditory, kinesthetic. For visual, I will give example. Learners prefer to see the language written down. Auditory learners prefer to hear the language, of course. And kinesthetic learners prefer to do some something physical, such as following instruction for a game, and they love making up stories, participating in stories. That's why every student have their styles of learning, and teachers should know about them. Besides this, the next one is studial. Learners like to pay conscious attention to the linguistic features of the language and want to be correct and experiential. I will give example and I will try to explain with some examples. Learners like to use the language and are more concerned with communication than with correctness. And next one is analytic. For examples, learners prefer to focus on discrete bits of language to learn them one by. Next one is global. Learners are happy to respond to whole chunks of language at a time to pick up from the whatever language they can. The next one is independent. Example, learners prefer to learn from a teacher and from a book. And next one is independent. Learners are happy to learn from their own experience of the language and to use autonomous learning strategies. So, materials should take into account that learners differ in effective attitudes. The first one is providing choice. Providing choices of different types of text. Next one is providing choices of different types of activities. So I explained about the types of text should be different and types of activities should be different because as I mentioned above, it makes your lessons very interesting. Next one is providing optional extras for the more positive, motivated learners. So next one is providing variety. Of course, in order to make our lesson more interesting, in order to draw our students' attention, we should follow these rules with different types of text, with different types of activities, so providing varieties, including units in which the value of learning English is a topic for discussion. So materials should provide opportunities for outcome feedback which is focused first on effectiveness of the outcomes rather than just on the accuracy of the output, can lead to output becoming profitable source of input. Or in other words, if language that the learner produces is evaluated in relation to the purpose for which it is used, that language can become a powerful and informative source of information about the use. Developing materials for language teaching, I will explain. If the children's first language has a different writing system, English language teaching should take into account of this. It's a good idea to delay reading in English until some time after listening and speaking have been established. Reading and writing should be introduced simultaneously in English. Language teaching to children. Only children above a certain age are ready for reading in English. Before that, listening and speaking should be focused. The next one is children should not see words written or printed in English during the first classroom experiences with English. When teaching children English, writing should be delayed for some time after reading has been introduced. So learning to write letters and words is an important support to the development of reading skills. So it's important to have words printed on the page from very early in the course materials used for English language teaching. It's important to introduce the whole alphabet but without letter names before young learners of English start learning to read in English. Young learners of English need to know the whole alphabet with letter name before they start learning to read in English. So learners need to have developed a good pronunciation. Of course, pronunciation is important in English before they can tackle the first steps in reading. The use of rhymes is especially beneficial to learning to read in English. And also it's very important for young learners who are starting to learn to read to learn the initial sounds and letters of K. Besides this, the words focused on for learning to read need to be sent the same as a vocabulary that is taught in the rest of the English language, of course. Next one is, from their first lessons in reading English, children need to be made, and besides, aware of the benefits that this skill could offer them in the future. They should enjoy the storybooks, access to the page. So this is all, dear students, dear learners. I hope that you understand about our today's topic, and so goodbye and see you for next time. Thank you very much.